Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into what is arguably one of history's most harrowing, unbelievable stories of human endurance. It's a story that literally redefines the absolute boundaries of what the human mind and body can survive. We're looking at the true events of Andes Flight 571.
So think about this for a second. What would you do to survive in the harshest environment on Earth? Imagine just going about your normal day, and then in the blink of an eye, you're thrust right into a freezing, life-or-death situation with absolutely zero preparation. You're completely isolated in a frozen wasteland. How would you react? Keep that thought in the back of your mind as we trace the incredible sequence of events that kicked off in the fall of 1972.
Section 1. Flight 571 goes down. October 13, 1972.
Let's set the scene. On October 13, a chartered aircraft is carrying 45 people. We're talking a Uruguayan rugby team, their friends and family, all attempting to cross the towering Andes Mountains. But as they approached the peaks, they ran right into Step 1, thick clouds and incredibly poor visibility. That directly caused Step 2, a fatal miscalculation. The pilots actually thought they had cleared the peaks, so they began descending way too early. Which brings us to Step 3, mountain impact. Seconds later, the aircraft slammed directly into a jagged ridge.
The sheer physical destruction of this impact was absolutely devastating. The wings were immediately torn off, the tail section completely broke away from the main body of the aircraft. What was left, the main fuselage, slid hundreds of meters across snow and solid ice before it finally screeched to a halt. In this violent crash, 12 people died instantly, and a lot of the remaining passengers were left with really serious injuries.
And where did that crushed fuselage finally stop? A staggering 11,000 feet above sea level. To put that into perspective for you, they were stranded on a freezing glacier over 2 miles straight up in the air.
Section 2, stranded in the Andes, a freezing reality.
Okay, so the initial terrifying chaos of the crash is over, right? But the agonizing realization of their new reality was really just beginning. They're trapped in sub-zero temperatures, and they immediately face a brand new crisis. Food was practically non-existent. Frantically searching through the twisted wreckage, they managed to scrape together just tiny amounts of chocolate, some wine, candy, and a few scattered snacks. Keep in mind, this was for 45 original passengers. Within just a matter of days, their entire food supply was 100% gone.
And then comes what I can only describe as an absolute emotional gut punch. It's hard to even fathom. They managed to recover a small radio from the wreckage, and they're listening for updates, desperately hoping for salvation. But instead, they hear a devastating broadcast. The official search had been called off. Rescue teams had looked at the terrain and concluded there was no way anyone could survive a crash of that magnitude. No one was coming to save them.
It's like a domino effect of disasters. Look at the timeline here. October 13th, the crash happens. Just days later, the search is totally canceled. And then, tragedy strikes yet again. A massive avalanche hits. While the exhausted survivors were sleeping inside the fuselage, a giant wall of snow buried the wreckage. This avalanche killed several more people and trapped the rest inside this dark, snow-packed tube for days. Oxygen became incredibly scarce. Survival truly seemed impossible at this point.
Section 3, the impossible choice to stay alive.
Faced with absolute, agonizing starvation, the group was pushed to the absolute edge of human existence. As one of the survivors later noted, after long discussions and deep personal reflection, the group made an extraordinarily difficult decision. Solely to stay alive, they used the bodies of those who had died in the crash as their only available source of nourishment. Many of them later described this as the hardest choice they ever had to face in their lives. It's just a profound testament to the unyielding human will to live when you're backed into an impossible corner.
But, their resilience went way beyond that unimaginably difficult choice. As weeks painfully dragged into months, they just flat out refused to give up. Their ingenuity took over. They repaired their clothing using wiring and insulation scavenged right from the airplane. They developed these clever aluminum systems to melt freezing snow in the sun so they'd have drinking water. And perhaps most importantly, they supported one another emotionally. Every single small victory became another reason for the group to just keep fighting.
Section 4, the 10-day trek seeking help.
Eventually, it became super clear that waiting around just meant certain death. So, 2 survivors, Fernando Parado and Roberto Canessa, volunteered to attempt what seemed like an impossible journey out of the mountains. Look at this terrifying imbalance. They were equipped with only homemade gear fashioned from plane parts and minimal supplies, and they were up against the mighty Andes. We're talking endless snowfields, steep vertical cliffs, and incredibly dangerous mountain passes. Yet, they climbed for nearly 10 exhausting days.
After this agonizing, seemingly endless trek, they finally descended out of the freezing peaks and reached green valleys. And right there, a miracle happens. They spot a Chilean muleteer named Sergio Catalan. But because a rushing river separated them, they couldn't just walk up and talk to him. So, in a final act of pure ingenuity, they wrote a message on a piece of paper, tied it to a rock, and chucked it across the roaring water to Catalan. He read the note and immediately rode off on horseback to alert the authorities.
Section 5. The Miracle Rescue. On December 22nd and 23rd of 1972, helicopters finally returned to the crash site high up in the Andes. When you step back and look at the raw statistics of this ordeal, they are simply staggering. Out of the 45 original passengers, after spending an unbelievable 72 days trapped in the freezing mountains, 16 people were miraculously brought home alive. The story of Andes Flight 571 really remains one of the greatest survival stories in all of recorded history. It's remembered not just for the unimaginable hardships they faced, but for the incredible teamwork, the resilience, and an absolute determination to live against literal impossible odds. Their experiences inspired books, documentaries, you name it, reminding the world that even in humanity's darkest moments, hope can survive.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought today. What does it actually take to keep hope alive when every single odd is stacked against you? The 16 survivors of Flight 571 answer that question through 72 days of unbreakable willpower and unity. It is a phenomenal testament to the strength of the human spirit. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take a moment to reflect on the unbelievable resilience shown in this story.